Welcome to week 7. And in this session, we will talk about the model 8 out of 9 models for conflict resolution and negotiation process. Also, it is only about conflict resolutions. And let us start with the sharing. So, what is social style? What does it mean? What's your definition, not in conflict resolution, in all aspects of your life? What is social style? Welcome, Payo. Luisa, Phoebe, Payo. What is social style? What does it mean? Where's the first word association to your mind when I say social style?
The lifestyle the person has.
What?
I feel like the lifestyle the person has.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe their financial.
What's the difference between, for example, social style and lifestyle? Or race-based style, or ethnological style? Let me divide the question to 2 separated parts. 1, what is the first word association to your mind when I say style? Luisa, the first word.
How it goes, the way how it goes, and
Only one word, not description, only one word. The first word. When I say style, what is the first word associated to your mind? Don't think. The first word.
Approach.
Phoebe, when I say style, what is the first word associated to your mind?
Personality.
And Payo?
Way of being.
Yeah. For me, it's persistency, style. Everywhere you can find a style, and for everything. Dressing style, lifestyle, social style. And it's an approach. It's a basic approach to assessment about everything. It is called a style-based assessment. It is very regular in organizations. Managers love style. Why? Because when they know about the styles, they have a good ability to predict the future behaviors of their coworkers, of their employees. Also, it is not very fulfilled. Why? Because when we categorize people in different styles, at first it's the good tools for predicting the future behavior. But we should ignore, we should deny, we should delete the individual differences. This is something like personality, something like character. This personality, that type of personality. Okay. Now, when I say lifestyle, what does it mean? I say for changing, for transformation, not for changing, because we have these parts. At first, it is modification. After that, it is change. After that, it is transcendence. After that, it is transformation. For transformation, you should change your lifestyle. And for changing your lifestyle, you should change your attitude, your mindset. This is the basic part. If you are thinking in the same wrong ways or in the same old ways, not necessarily wrong ways, but it should be old ways, you cannot gain new results. The old ways, the old gains. The same ways, the same gains. And sometimes the wrong ways, the wrong gains. Okay? So for transformation, which is very deep, very radical, very fundamental changes in your life. You should change your attitude, your philosophy, your mindset. It is transformation. Before that, it is transcendence, grasping some new attitude, but not fixing them, not to be permanent, only grasping, very, very temporary light to your mind. It is transcendence. Before that, it is changing. Changing is the present situation, only creating some differences in the present elements. And before that, at the first step, it is modification or modifying. Not changing anything, only the arrangement, only the order, only the combination of the present elements. It's called modification. We have behavioral change, behavioral modification, behavioral therapy, not behavioral transcendence and behavioral transformation, because the matter of transcendence and transformation is not the matter of behavior, it's the matter of thinking and feeling. In transcendence and transformation, what something is changing is your feeling, is your organizational feeling. Just before entering the class, I was looking at a book, a PDF book, about the archetypes, about the hero's journey, using hero's journey, practical hero's journey in organizations. How we can categorize people based on the, for example, archetypology of Jungian psychology. It is very, very regular. You can find in the books of Jordan Peterson, Canadian theorist about the Jungian psychology and organizational psychology also. It's very famous, Jordan Peterson. You can find some basic categorization of personality and styles. So, when in this chapter, in this session, we are talking about social style. I don't want to look at your book because it is not useful. I need your mind, I need your thinking, I need your feeling about your job, about your studying. Your book is your book. You can read it or not read it. It's not so important. Also, grading is not so important. For practice, grading is not so important. Grading can show, at the best scenario, can show that yes, you have read your books very, very precisely. Only that. It doesn't mean that you have a good understanding of what you have read. You have a good comprehension of what you have read. Your comprehension is on the field of action. When you want to have a good action in your organization, it shows that you have understood or comprehended so good your book or not. So, before looking at your book, let me know about your views on social style. What does it mean, social style? Without any searching in the internet, only your own view. It is not important. There is no good view or bad view. It is your own view. Payal?
I feel social, when it comes to the word social, for some reason I relate it with society.
Yeah.
How involved you are, in whatever, in the society, how you react with the people around you, or how, how active citizen you are. Maybe in that way I will relate this social style. Now, lifestyle, I would say it's more personal, how is our lifestyle, but social will be regarding the society and how we react in it.
Perfect. You are talking about the actions, observable actions. Phoebe?
For me, the social style is like how your mind think about other people action. Actually, it's not your self action, but then other people react to you, or you react to other people, but in your mind only. Like, let's say you manage a company, so your leadership skill, some soft skill is that people cannot see, or like it's not observable.
Perfect. Luisa?
I'd agree with them both, but yeah, so society, like Payat said, how society approaches things, or the person, and um,
What do you want to add it?
So maybe also the expectations the society has
Mhm.
about each other. Mm,
With this definition, do you consider any relationship with your culture and social style? Because expectations, like
with your what?
ceremonies, are categorizes under categorizes of culture. One part of culture is the social expectation. What expectation the culture, the society has from you to do or you're not to do is your expectation. Rituals. Sometimes it is, we are talking about rituals. Do you think that we can consider culture and, as you said, expectation as a major part, as a radical part of social style or not?
I think so, because every culture has different expectations, different approaches. And so you can see with different societies that like one society accepts the behavior and another society might not. So like culture and with their rituals and traditions and how they are being raised, also the law of the country and so on, all shapes the person, their behavior, their thinking, and yeah, so it's different for
Yeah.
every society.
When we talk about
Also, and also every person. Like
every person, yeah. When we talk about social style, we are talking about the relatively permanent methods of acting and reacting in society. They are predictable for us. If you observe a society so precisely, so carefully, you can find some models of behavior in that society. Sometimes it is called rituals, sometimes it is called ceremonies, sometimes it is called social style. In the world of style, we can find to be permanent. In the world of social, as you said, relative to society, we can find observable components. Observable components are not necessary behaviors. The major part of observable components, object components of our psyche, of our humanity is behavior. Okay, but not necessary behavior. It is relative to the observer. For example, if you are a trained expert in body language, a trained expert in body language, you can observe some signs in body language about other people that people who are not trained, they cannot observe. It is not hidden. Okay, it is not hidden. You can observe. It is micro signs, very, very, very detailed sign, very, very, very small signs. But you can find it. Why? Because you have trained for it. It's a part of behavior, yes, but it is not a part of general signs of behavior, general interpretation, very, very specific interpretation about the behaviors. Other things is about, for example, tonality. Tonality is the color of emotion of your talking, color of emotion of your verbality, color of emotion of your speaking. It is tonality. Can we see the tonality? Yes, but seeing not by eyes, but the ears. So how do you see with your ears? Honestly, it is not seeing, it is comprehending, it is understanding. It is about finding some meaning in your actions, not by motor actions, by but your, for example, speaking. It is motor actions. We have psychomotor actions. Psycho, it is about the emotional part of your actions, and motor actions is about the movement. Motor here is mean movement. Before entering this session, it is very important for me that this session and after that the next session are very interesting sessions, more applicable and more general than the other models. Apparently, it seems so simple, but honestly, it is not so simple. Why it seems so simple? This is because about the social styles we can find in other people by observing carefully to their face, to their walking, psychomotor activity, general appearance, and other things. But for interpretation, for finding and creating some findings, we cannot find the findings, we cannot find the result. Sometimes by interpretation, you should create the findings. It is relative to the observer. Now we will talk about MBTI. In MBTI, also MBTI is not about social style, but we can find some findings. We can find some result, for example, in something like MBTI. So let's go to the course and start with the first descriptions. One of the most common framings of conflict is the ubiquitous personality conflict. Personality conflicts seem to abound, yet there is very little consistency or common understanding about what personality conflict is or what should be done about it. Why? Because the major concept of personality is an ambiguous concept, it's a vague concept. Also, we have a very, very specific and very deep major in psychology, so-called personality psychology. It's a different part of psychology, very, very old fashioned and very, very with a good, rigid and vigorous research-based support and background. It's so separate from other parts, from developmental psychology, from clinical psychology, from industrial psychology, personality psychology. But now I can say you that as the expert in psychology, I can say you that we have many, many unclear, we have many confused, we have many ambiguous, vague data about personality. Until this time, personality is one of the first subjects we started to work on as research near about 120 years ago. It is old time for psychology. From the first days of looking at the human mind as a science, the first thing was about personality. How can we divide different people based on the signs and symptoms we can find or observe in their actions, in their behaviors, in their emotions, which is personality. For example, you know that one of the first models about the categorization of human mind and human personality is from Sigmund Freud, with the three categorization of personality: id, ego, and superego. Id for your childhood, with the principle of pleasure, and ego for your daily life with the principle of reality, and superego for your doing and not doing, for must and must nots, with the principle of morality, ethics. This is the first categorization for modern psychology. We have some ancient categorization for personality. So at that time it was not called personality. It was called, for example, nature, human nature, by Aristotle and by other basic philosophers. But in modern psychology, one of the first theories about the categorization of personality was from Sigmund Freud. And after that, other thinkers and other scientists, based on their findings and based on their findings in behavior and emotion. So with these deep and long support, long, vigorous science-based and evidence-based data about personality, just now, we cannot have a very, very multidimensional definition of personality. Each scientist, each approach considers some dimensions of personality. None of them is, even in mysticism, even in intuition, we can feel the multidimension. What we cannot define those definitions. This is the problem with mysticism as a science. Why we cannot consider mysticism as a science? Because we can feel it, but we cannot show it. Why? Because your way for mysticism is your intuition. You can feel your intuition, you can experience your intuition, but you cannot show your intuition to other people, and you cannot repeat yourself intentionally, and you cannot change it, your intuition, for example, to a measure what we are doing in the science of psychology. Because of that, your book set for personality conflicts seem found, but There are where we are not any common understanding and common comprehension about the personality. Most of these models tend to be focused on the idea of communication styles. Do you know what is the root of the word personality? What is the Latin root of personality? Why it is called personality? So you are master's degree students. Students in the bachelor degree have a very good, very good course about the general psychology. I teach this course. This is very interesting. Not also for me, this is very basic for me, but for the students, it's good. One chapter is about the personality and individual differences. Individual differences. Between differences, personality is about the similarities, and those parts talk about the differences. So, do you know what is the meaning of personality and what is the Latin root of personality? Do you have any guess about it? Persona in Latin word is mean mask in your face. Personality with the root of Latin word of persona, it shows that part which is observable for other people. It's something like your mask. That part which is observable by other people. It is your personality. And it's very interesting. Most of the personality measurement tools are talking about your inner world, not outer world, not your face, not your actions, not your behaviors. Most of the personality measurement tools are talking about the inner world. The major word is typology. Typology or typology is the categorization of personality. For example, extroverted and introverted. Pampered lifestyle, pampered personality. Hardworking, marketing personality. Marketing personality is a type of personality. Thinkers, dominant, influencer, supporters. Also, you can find some observational, some objective aspects for those categorization of personality. But the first and the major part of categorization is about the inner subjects and inner traits of your personality. Communication and the quality of our communication processes. It is called communication style, are the central to the experience of conflict. One of the good things, one of the good tools you can find is that, for example, I'm a manager, I'm a teacher of this class, I find some conflict between, for example, Phoebe and Luisa. And I want to resolve this conflict. At first, in this approach, I should find the communication style of Luisa and the communication style of Phoebe. All aspects, all conflict resolutions begins with diagnosis. Diagnosis based on that model that you are using. Now we are using the social model. Okay? Social style model. So at first I should find the social style model of Luisa, and after that, find the social model of, for example, Phoebe, and see that what are the differences between the models. And after diagnosis, we should have some strategic planning for doing something else that we will talk about. One of the first and also very well-known tests, especially in organizations, I don't know why, it is very famous in organizations all around the world, also in Middle East and my country, MBTI is very famous for organizational approach. And I love it, I know it, but it is not the even more authoritative, no more validated, the most validated or the most authoritative test about the personality typology, but it is very famous. The most commonly known and reference system for assessing personality trait is the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. Do you know them? Myers-Briggs? Do you know that both of them are women? And daughter and mother. 1914, for 1940. I think, yeah, 1940. The other, you can find a very good video in YouTube about the history of MBTI. And the most assessed psychological personality-based test in the history of psychology is MBTI. Most assessed. We have a very, very good database about the MBTI all around the world, from Africa, from North America, South America, Europe, especially in Europe, MENA, Middle East and North Africa, Australia, New Zealand, all parts of the world, managers, and also some parts in psychology. Psychologists have used MBTI for personality typology. Also, it is not a clinical test. We cannot find some clinical indicators for clinicians for diagnosing the mental disorder. It is not a clinical test. DISC also is not a clinical test. We are talking to TTSI. Your university is talking with TTSI, maybe to work on DISC for clinical applications. So I'm talking with the general manager of TTSI. But now the present test of TTSI is not good for clinical approaches, for clinical usages. We have some other, for MMPI, number 1 and number 2, version 1 and version 2 is very good and very famous test for clinical approaches. MMPI said to us that what mental disorders you can have and you will have in the future about the mental disorders. MBTI is not about the diagnosis, the mental disorders, psychiatric disorders, but in personality and job matching, it is good. Now we'll talk about the drawback of MBTI for you as conflict practitioners, why it's not good so to use MBTI for conflict practice or conflict resolution. Much has been written on the Myers-Briggs model. Hundreds of thousands of people have taken the MBTI assessment, creating large databases of statistical trends and analysis. There is one significant drawback to using the MBTI system as a conflict practitioner. However, the MBTI model is on how a person internally approaches processing and communicating information. It is internally, not externally. And these internal processes are extremely hard to observe. The book says extremely hard, but I think it is impossible to observe the internal parts of people. Because if you can observe it, it is not called internal. When you call something internal, it means that we cannot directly observe it. We cannot observe it and have a good prediction by questionnaires, by interview, by body language and other things, but it is not direct, it is indirect. If it is observable, it is not called internal. The major part is that. The most common way MBTI is used to have individuals fill out the MBTI assessment tool that assesses and categorizes the individual personality and information processing traits. It is very important to know. Have you taken this test or not? Okay.
Yes, we took it the last class with you.
Yeah. Phoebe and Pale? Okay.
Not yet.
You can go to internet everywhere. You can find MBTI. It is good to know about it, about yourself at first.
Okay.
And for interview in many organizations, one of the first questions for the candidates of management and leadership that how many tests do you know about the job matching, about the personality typology? And the number 1 is MBTI, always MBTI. So go to internet and take a test. It's good for you to know about your personality at first. Also, it is not the absolute and final fact and truth about your personality. Human being can change, but change is not so easy, as it's not always monodimensional. It is always multidimensional. But it's very good for you to know about the details of MBTI, Myers-Briggs type indicators. Some pronunciation says Myers-Briggs, some pronunciation say Myers-Briggs. Also, both of them is true. The results from this assessment are then made available to individuals or the work group. This means that for the MBTI to be useful in a conflict situation, the mediator or practitioner would need to ask parties to fill out a whole questionnaire before the intervention. Although this may not be completely out of the question, it severely limits the usefulness of model. Don't forget, when you are a conflict practitioner, conflict resolution practitioner, when you are a manager, a leader, a spouse, parent, sometimes in very, very regular daily life, conflictual situations, don't forget it, that it's a conflictual and with a lot of problem situation. In that situation, you cannot say, sorry, everybody quiet. Please take the MBTI and after that I can help you. It is conflictual situation. Yes, in, for example, job matching or hiring process, yes. You can say, come to my office and take this. It is a one part of your hiring process. No problem. But totally in conflictual situations, you cannot take the test. Sometimes it is very critical. Sometimes it is very urgent situations. Not for making decisions, but for assessment, gathering information about the content and context of the conflictual situation. Because of it is one of the greatest problems with test taking, especially in urgent, especially in emergency, especially in critical, with a lot of crisis. Many of the conflictual states are critical states with a lot of crisis, with a lot of problems. So because of that, we can consider an alternative for something like MBTI. That in looking for an individual style-based analysis model, it is a style-based. MBTI is a style-based analysis model. Why? After taking the MBTI test, we have some style of personality, style of behavior, style of thinking, a style of feeling, emotional style. Thinking style. You can. It's a very not new book. So by Sternberg, Robert Sternberg, the president of American Psychological Association for 2 years. His proficiency is in intelligence for a whole life. And the last book, I think it is 2020 or 2021 book. It is Adaptive Intelligence. It's a very good book about this. Adaptive intelligence, the final facts about the intelligence. Very old book from Robert Sternberg is so-called Thought Styles or Thinking Styles, something like this. It is talking about the categorization styles of thinking. And the last book is Adaptive Style. In that book also, we have some style-based analytical model or style-based models. The models that categorizes the subject of model for different categorization for different styles. Therefore, a more effective, a more effective would be a model that assesses personality based on observable behavior, not internal processes. The social model, the social style model fits this requirement. Any question? So, before entering the model of social style model, I have a question. We talk about the style, the meaning of a style. We talk about the society and community and what does it mean social style. In premarital counseling, before you're married with your spouse, we have many tests, many questionnaires for diagnosing the differences, not the difficulties. You should differentiate these from each other. We all have many differences. All. As human beings, we are different. But in many cases, differences cannot create difficulties. It is something different. I, Luisa, Phoebe, and Paola in this session, we have 4 different personality traits and personality complex of traits. a battery of traits. It's called traits battery. A traits battery, Louisa, separate trait battery from Phoebe, Phoebe from me from Payal, Payal from Louisa and other people. It is difference only, not difficulty. But if we have some overlapped, some interaction and counter interaction about the differences, differences will move from a stage of difference to the stage of difficulty. It is the stage that you should have some intervention. It is the stage that we need management. This is the stage that we need leadership. This is the stage that we need practitioners, we need coaches, we need mentors, we need psychotherapists. It is related to the conflict and difficulties that you are encountering in that state. If I want to choose another phrase for a manager, for a successful manager, especially for a leader, if I want to another title for this position, I should say the other phrase, the other title for managers, leaders, psychotherapists, coaches, mentors are problem solvers. All things about your not only problem solving skills, your problem solving mindset. It is something about your style. The time you will understand that, yes, Louisa is a perfect manager, Pyre is a perfect manager, Phoebe is a perfect manager, when you can use unconsciously in your daily life. In that time, you are a perfect manager, you are a perfect leader, you are a perfect problem solver. Your daily life, without any conscious, just completely unconscious. Or at the worst round, you're subconscious. It is something like driving. Your driving is subconscious, it is not conscious. You sit in your car and start driving without paying very, very, very serious attention to what you are doing. Also, it is not unconscious, but it is subconscious. Until changes in the environment. That time, conscious will come up and it will be consciously. Regularly, your driving is not consciously. It is subconsciously, and at the deepest part, it is unconsciously. In such situations, you can say, yes, I am unconscious competent. I am unconscious confident about my managerial problem solving skills. I said this because these models, some models like social style model, can be used in different non-managerial, non-official managerial situations in your life, with your mother, with your father, in the bus station. Every time someone is added to you, it is society. When we are two, we are society. In every interaction, communication, you can find these models and use this model at first for practice, and after that for being and becoming. It is something more than learning, something more than education, something more than graduation, something more than official management or official leadership. It is your personality traits. So please practice these models also, all of these 9 models, especially these social style model in your daily life. Find the cases about the model and find the analysis based on the model. It should be a very, very daily practice to practice the model in your daily life, because every time and everywhere you can find very, 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 very small conflicts between, sometimes between yourself, with yourself. It is called intrapersonal. Interpersonal, it is between you and other people. Intrapersonal is between you and yourself. It is intrapersonal conflicts. So the social style model is another style model that comes from the same roots as the Myers-Briggs type indicator, MBTI, with 2 significant differences. The roots are the same for typology, for creating some styles about the behavior model. It is a behavioral style, about the emotional style, about the cognitive style or rational style or thinking style. Number 1, the social style approach is focused on an individual observable behavior, objective, not subjective, not their internal processes. It is a very good point. Focus on what you can observe, on what you can see. This means that observable behavior can help the practitioner assess the predominant style of the people in dispute and can make intervention decisions based on that assessment. It is very important that you should know in categorization, in typology of personality traits, all we have, all the personality traits, all the categorization with different severity, with different duration, with different dominancy. For example, in this assessment, we have dominant, D for dominant, I for influence, S for support, and C for compliance. We have four major categorization of personality in this DISC. D for dominancy, I for influence, and S for support, and C for compliance. But it doesn't say that one person has only one style. It says that every person has one predominant style. For example, if I say I am D personality, it doesn't mean that I don't have any supportive trait, I don't have any analytical trouble, compliance trait, or I don't have any influencing trait. It shows and it says that my predominant style is, for example, dominancy. My predominant style is supporting or over supporting other people. It is very important that we are talking about a range of traits, about the spectrum of traits, not only about one single trait. Also in mental disorders, we have, for example, autism spectrum disorder, schizophrenia spectrum disorders. So it is very important, very, very important. You should remember in your mind, never forget that when you are looking at yourself for self-discovery, for self-awareness, and other people, not about the judgment, only about the observation, and you want to the back of their faces, you want to the inner part, you want to see the inner part of people, you should know we are encountering, we are facing with a range, with a spectrum, not only points, this point, that, but no, we are talking about it. But in these ranges, in these spectrums, yes, we can find some major severity, some major dominance, as your book says, predominant style or predominant typology of personality. Is there any question? So, I have a question. As an observable behavior, at first, Phoebe, talk about 2 minutes about yourself that you think other people can those traits in you. How do you think about your observable traits, not observable necessarily behaviors? How do you think about your observable personality traits that other people can perceive those traits in your behavior or in your general personality? It's a hard assignment, I know. Talking about yourself, it is very hard assignment. Because of that, until you are thinking, I ask Payal to do her assignments, and after that, Phoebe will talk about it. Payal, what are the traits you think that other people think about you based on your observable behavior? It is called self-disclosure. In psychotherapy and psychological, this technique is called self-disclosure. You are disclosing yourself for other people. Also, it is not important to talk about the very negative or very, very private information. For example, I am your instructor. I can talk about each of you at least 2 minutes. Why? Because I only have, for example, to near more than 2 hours per week. For 8 weeks, it is about 15 or 16 hours. And this is the second semester that I know Luisa as my student. I can talk about 2 minutes about the Luisa personality, only based on the observable. I cannot live with her. I don't know his personality very privately or very with the long term, only 2 hours per day. What do you think, Payal, about yourself based on your observable behavior? Other people think about you.
So I don't know if this is good or bad. Whenever I see something like, example, so my uncle has a shop, so many people work there. So whenever I see something wrong going on, and if I know that, they know that I will blur it out. I don't care who it is then. So people know that, when they see me, it's like I wouldn't stay quiet in a way. I would just bluntly say anything.
Mm.
But at the same time, let's say if you go to watch a movie, the people they always say like, "Oh, you're very sensitive," because by the end of the movie, I just cry if it is a emotional movie.
Oh,
So,
perfect. How do you think about yourself? Observable traits, perceived traits by others, not real traits. Everything from everything for people outside of us is perception, not real. Their perception about us. So it is called perceived trait. Phoebe, how do you think about your perceived traits by others based on your observable, objective behaviors? Explicit behaviors, not implicit behaviors.
Um, so like my coworker around me, they
Uh-huh.
always said I am very strict on doing things. Like on certain things, it has to be a certain way to do that. You
Mhm.
cannot like just do this and like put this situation with the other solution. So, but in reality, I'm not that strict. That's what they think about me. But for me myself, I didn't think that I was that strict because whatever they do,
Conflictual. It is conflictual. Why other people think about you in the way that you cannot think about yourself in that way? You think that you are not so straight, but other people say, no, Vivi is so straight. Why? What's the problem?
I actually like whatever they do, I don't really care, but I remind them. That's why they think I'm strict. But then it's just me that I kinda want they to work better. That's why I said, but it's not a complaint or it's nothing complicated or too much. But the only thing that I like not friendly. But time goes by and then they start talking to me and they recognize that I'm not that kind of person that only pick on like small things. So I kind of know a little bit about like, their behaviors when they know me and they talk to me more than when they just meet me and just observe me.
So you are talking to you are telling us that it is a premature judgment about your behavior. It is very early onset judgment about your behavior after people knowing you better than the past times. They said, no, we were in mistake. We were doing about mistake judgment about Phoebe. Do you think that it is a premature, early judgment about your behavior?
I think just that because the way I look, that make they think that who I am, but it's not they not trust me like through the let's say when they have the conversation with me, it's a different story.
And Luisa, how do you think about yourself? What other people maybe may think or say to you that about your observable traits or perceived traits based on your observable behavior?
I think other people probably associate my quietness at first, that I'm quiet. And then some people like think I'm shy because I'm like quiet or tend to be more quiet. But I wouldn't say necessarily that I'm like shy, at least not like to that degree. But yeah, I agree, I would be quiet, and I can see that like other people say that. Um, I would say other people think that I'm reliable, which I would agree on. Um, I'm also determined. So if I have goals, I do everything like that in my power to reach it, if I want to reach it. And I would say overall, I'm also like organized, which would go with reliable because, yeah. So, for example, I don't miss deadlines or so. That's important to me. I think these are some things that other people observe, and then overall, most of it is probably true.
What are the major factors, determinant factors to create differences between the perceived yourself, what images, what judgments do you have about yourself, and other people's perceived judgment about yourself? Both of them is a matter of perception. Your perceived image about yourself and other people's perceived image about yourself. Again, what are the major factors in creating some differences between these two types of perception? For example,
I only know, well, I'm the only one that knows my intentions and why I'm doing it. And other people would say, oh, she's doing it because of this and this. But this might be not the case. The case is, and they can see it, they are just like judging on what they see or from their experience with other people or from their past. They will be like, connect these things and are like, okay, she does this, so she's like that. And maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but they don't know the true intentions behind it. So they only know the superficial things,
yeah.
but not the inner side.
And also, I guess every story has like two different sides. So only
Uh-huh.
so what people say is not the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it depends on the situation, on what a person is in, and sometimes you cannot tell someone what really the problem is. They will just see from outside, and then they will just, I guess it's like the sympathy and empathy thing we
Yeah. Perfect.
spoke about in the class.
The major things is that, as you said, and also Luisa said, that people can see and say only what we are showing them, but not they cannot see our intention, our inner processes. For example, our emotion. Also, your emotion talk with other people through your body, but it is not a complete. It is called filtering. Filtering is mean all of us has some filters in our attitude. In your glass is black, everything is not black. But you can see and you may see everything not black but dark, in combination of black and other colors. It is something like that. Because of that, it is called mental syntax or mindset. Mental syntax is your syntax, it's your conceptual framework. The framework that you are conceptualize other things in your environment, or even in yourself, which is labelizing. We say, I'm ugly, I'm lucky, I'm unlucky, I'm pretty, I'm good, I'm bad, I'm weak, I'm strong, I can do it. So never, I cannot do it. My father, my mother was like me. It is, for example, about my generation, about my genetic makeup and other things. These are labelizing. Are they truth? Until you accept them, yes, they are truth. Until you accept them. So why we accept something which is not profitable for us, which is not efficient for us? Because it is in our comfort zone, the major problem of every human being, comfort zone, the zone that is very controllable and acknowledgeable for you. You are comfort in that zone, but it doesn't mean that you are successful in that zone. Even it doesn't mean that you are happy in that zone. It is always comfort for you, comfortable zone for you. But because going out, exiting of comfort zone, always accompany with three emotions, three feelings. I have talked about these feelings one time in previous sessions. Do you remember what were the major feelings you are experiencing when you are coming out of your comfort zone? Or can you guess the feelings when I am leaving my comfort zone? What is the first feeling I may experience and I should experience? What is the opposite of comfort is? Bayal, do you want to say anything?
I would say fear or uncomfortness.
Perfect. Fear. And the second one?
Uncomfort, like you're uncomfortable
Yeah,
because of the.
uncomfortable is becoming coming out of, at first I feel fear. Wow, what I am doing. It is uncomfortable. The second
Risk,
one, Luisa.
risk, risky.
Uh-huh. Fear, shame. You think, no, I am not good enough, but do the new things. Whenever, wherever you say to yourself, I am not good enough, you're experiencing shame. It is one of the greatest features of shame. I say to myself, I am not good enough. Who do you think you are? It is other people say to you and creating shame in you, especially your parents, especially your close friends, especially people that think that you should be always as the same old ways. If you want to change this, who do you think you are? And after that, after fear and shame, you think, is it true? Is it worth it to come out my comfort zone? I have spent a lot of time, money, and energy for creating that comfort zone. Why I should go out? Is it rational? It calls doubt. Fear, shame, and doubt are the major feelings that you are coming out of your comfort zone. And vice versa. And vice versa. Every time you thought, you understand that, I'm experiencing fear and shame, especially fear and shame. You should know that maybe you are coming out, you are going out of your comfort zone, but you haven't understood that, yes, I'm leaving my comfort zone. Also, you should know these are very, very, very natural and healthy, but not desirable. They are not desirable. It is something like pain. Pain is not desirable. It is the scientific definition of pain, an undesirable, unpleasant feeling. But it doesn't say that it is not good or it is bad. It's only undesirable and unpleasant. What is the alarm for example, something is wrong? Your pain. Fear and shame says you that your comfort zone, also it is comfort, but it is not useful for you. So embrace your fear, embrace your shame. Why? When you say yes, it shows me that I am leaving my comfort zone and everything after this stage will be growing the stage. And after that, learning the stage. And after that, finally growing the stage. Everything will be okay after going out of comfort zone, after leaving comfort zone. You know that this is very normal to feel shame, to feel fear, to feel doubt. It is not desirable, yes, but it is normal. It is something like labor process. At the end the stage of the pregnancy, you will enter the labor process with a lot of pain, yes. But you know, after that, you will visit your new baby. It is something like that. It is not desirable, but it is completely natural and useful. This means that we say that, yeah, this means that observable behavior can help the practitioner assess the predominant style of the people in the dispute and can make intervention decision based on that assessment. You have some decision based on the assessment of social style, and what is the root of social style, you can find it is the observable behavior. Formal instruments and questionnaires do exist for assessing behavioral style under the social style model, with one significant difference. What? Because observable behavior is based as the basis of the model, the social style assessment relies more on peer assessment, less on individual self-assessment. It is the major difference between some assessment based on, for example, social style, observable, and something like MBTI. In MBTI, gathering information, in MBTI and other questionnaires, gathering information is based on the self-assessment, self-report questionnaires. I will give you the questionnaire of MBTI and you will take the test. And on my own self or note some, for example, programs, computerized programs will analyze and give the profile of your personality based on the self-report and self-assessment on the questionnaire, for example, of MBTI. But in something like social style model, it's based on the observation. You cannot find anything based on the self-report. So questionnaires is based on the report of other people, your peer group, it is called significant others. Significant others are people that know you very, very good. For example, your parents are your significant others. Your close friends are your significant others. Your spouse or partner, your significant others. Major data in something like social style model we can assess is based on the questionnaires or interview or talking with other significant others, not yourself. It is the major difference, and sometimes we have some deviation in gathering information because some people, even your very, very close people, your mother, your father, your parents, your sibling, your close friends, in some aspects, they have misjudgment, misunderstand of your basic and inner part. Why? Because they can see only the thing, only the act, only the feelings that you are showing them, that you are showing them traits that you want to show them, sometimes consciously, many parts it is unconsciously. And which is because we said it, in addition, the formal use of questionnaire, whether self-questionnaire or peer questionnaire, is not required to make effective use of the social style model. It can be useful to a practitioner by simply observing the behavior of the parties. This is only give you the starting point to have some attention, some focal attention on what you want and what you should follow, and you should observe, you should monitor in other people, especially people who are engaged with the conflict. You should know that what points and what items you should follow in their behaviors. The second difference and the second feature is that the social style model is much simpler. Let's only talk about the observable behavior. Sometimes I remember the behaviorism approach to human being. In behaviorism approach, we say at first, very radical behaviorists, like for example, J.B. Watson says that there is nothing such as feeling. There is nothing such as perception. They deny everything in the beginning decades of the 20th century. And after that, at the end decades of the 20th century, they say, behaviors say, yes, we have comprehension, we have perception, we have sensation, but it is not important to study. It is not important to investigate about them. It is not important to consider as a scientific fact. Both of them deny or delete a major part of human being, feelings, even thinking, even perception. Because of that, for example, for something like work on autism, behaviorism is perfect. Why? You have a very computerized based platform to work and ranking and numbering the actions of, for example, a baby with autistic problems. But in an organization, if you cannot consider the feelings of your employees or your co-workers, you will fail in management. major uh, factors of implementation in all aspects of human life is based on the emotion, based on the feelings. We are not so rational that we felt in the first decades of 20th century. After that, because of the very, very specific researches about the emotions, we know that we are emotional beings, not rational beings. Based on this philosophy, we know that some models like social style model are very similar. Also, they are very good models for starting assessment, for starting gathering information about the typology of personality, for example, in a very large organization. The social model relies on and assesses two dimensions of behavior: assertiveness and emotional responsiveness. Two parts. We will talk about in details in the next slides. Assertiveness, one part of behavior, and responsiveness or emotional responsiveness. This procedure, four possible styles or types. By comparison, the MBTI works with four different dimensions, which produces 16 different types. In social style model, we create only four styles of behaviors. We will talk about it, which is assertiveness and responsiveness and talk and say and emote and control. But something like MBTI, based on the different categorization, different traits that consider to be considered in tests like MBTI, we have at least 16 different types of personality. A far more complex model to work with. Social style, therefore, is more functional and effective for practitioners in conflict and dispute resolution field. Uh, yeah, we want to like. Is there anybody today to present PowerPoint or no? What's your title, Phoebe?
My PowerPoint today is about crowdfunding.
Okay, perfect. So go to the break for 12 minutes, just as 7 be in the class. And at first, Phoebe will present very good crowdfunding presentation. It is very, very not new, but very interesting concept. Also, I know that Phoebe has worked a lot on it. And after that, we will continue the PowerPoints. See you just at 7. Welcome. So let me stop the share and Phoebe, you can check it yet. You can share or not. I cannot hear you. You are muted.
Give me 1 second, please.
Yeah, no problem.
Can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay. So the presentation today is about crowdfunding. As you already see,
You can
the
make it
pic-
full screen. You can make
full
it full
screen?
screen.
Oh yeah, because I use the big TV to do that. So if I put full screen, it's gonna be super big. And it's kind of hard for me to focus on that.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry about that. So as you can see in the picture right here, you already see like the people give the money in the hands to the like the kind of the idea symbol. That a little bit the definition right there, but I will give the more specific one. So crowdfunding is like a practice of the funding project or anything similar like that by raising money from a large number of people, not just one person, typically via the internet. But as I read on Google is before it was like by mail too, like when it first started. But now basically everything is more, um, more everything faster and more convenient on the internet.
Yeah.
Mhm. And then the history of that, so like the first of the crowdfunding is in the 18th century when a writer and musicians gathered the money from the investor to publish their work. And then they getting more popular in the arts and music communities. For example, in 1997 that I give in the slide, the fans of the British rock band Marilyn, I raised around 60,000 US dollar for their entire US tour. And then nowadays there's a lot of companies that engage in this model in the US, like Artist Shares, and some other sites like Kiva Deploys. I'm sure that you guys heard about that. Like Kickstarter for business or GoFundMe for everything. And then the type of crowdfunding, there's like 4 basic type of crowdfunding. The first one is reward based. What it is you offer reward to give people an incentive to back your project, like to donate or give money to your project. The second one is donation based. Your audience simply donate to your project without get anything back, like products of your company, for example. And then the third one, like equity based. The backers receive equity stake in your company, like share the stock with your company. And the last one is lending based. So you raise funds in the form of loans and that you promise to pay back to the lenders. And then what's the process of the crowdfunding? So the process is first create a page and then spread the word and collect donation. More specific, you so in the first step, create a page, you should choose a platform. Now there's like hundreds of platforms on the internet. It's just like a couple example that I show you right here. Like Kickstarter for business, like I said, and then GoFundMe for everything. That's the most popular one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But when you choose a website to work on it, you should choose the one that have social tools to assist your sharing. on social media. Like, for example, the website has Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, had a Gmail on that, and anything that help you share your work by the internet. But nothing is free. You have to pay the fee to use the service. So normal fees for personal fundraising sites is about 7 to 12%. But and then some organizations charge credit card processing fees for the donor, like, and other fees into organization service charges. For example, I got this from Kickstarters. All or nothing funding is the core part of the Kickstarter. If a project is successfully funded, they apply a 5% fee to the funds collected, plus credit card processing fee, about 3 to 5%. So that's just for the Kickstarter platform. For other platform, other services, you gotta pay differently. Depends on what website or what service you choose. And why does it work? So it's obviously a small amount of money from plenty of people that make a lot of money. It's not just you need to like one person donate like a lot of money, but you can collect one by one, and then it
Yeah.
will make big money later. But it also has some benefits and risk for a creator party and then investor party. So let's say for the benefit of creator, profile, marketing, audience engagement, and feedback. Also, there's a lot of risk on that. Oops. Like, give me a second. Reputation, intellectual property protection, donor extortion, public fear of abuse, and lack of participation. And then investor also has some benefits and some risk on that too, such as for the benefit is a diversified investment. And then a small investment opportunities for the investor, and it's very easy to start. But then it also has some risk like illiquidity, cyber attack, and fraud. I mean, those risks can be happen to both creator and investor. But since you spend your money, then the cyber attack or fraud is like more like affect you more than like the creator.
Is there any traditional procedure for crowdfunding except of using internet for avoiding some risks like cyber attacks and other frauding performed in internet? Is there any traditional platform?
So I just read that before they used to use mail to like send the donation to the person, but I'm not sure how it works. I'm guessing it could be on newspaper, but I'm not exactly sure, 100% sure. But most of the information that I collected, it always said on the internet.
Now
Yeah.
they are in internet, yes.
Mm-hmm. And then why I
Also,
was
in countries with sanctions like North Korea, like Iran, like Libya, the countries with the sanction, economic sanction, not educational sanction, you cannot do it so easily because your basic parts should be in internet, and internet, in addition to cyber attacks and other problems with internet, there is a rotation of money between the physical real banks. Also, many trades now has shifted to part of the cryptocurrencies, I know. But I think after 1 or 2 months from now, the federal government of US has announced that they should have a high tax on taxes for cryptocurrencies because many people are investing on cryptocurrencies. Except of cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoins, other parts, they cannot do anything in countries with sanctions because they should use dollars as the basic exchange, and they cannot use dollars because they are under sanctions. So in countries like North Korea and Iran and Libya, you cannot use the crowdfunding outside of the country, only internal parts of the country. And in the country, because of the bad economic situations, there is no good invitation for coming to crypto, coming to crowdfunding. But in America, it is very useful. In some, totally in capitalistic economies like America, like Britain, like Canada, crowdfunding is very good and very invitable by every people I know here that has some part of investment in the crowdfunding, except of the stock market and other parts like Bitcoins. So go ahead.
Talking about Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency, I don't feel like it's safe to invest in those
Yeah,
kind of
because it is not like investment. When you are
Mhm.
talking about investment, you are talking about the financial rules between supply and demand. It is not like gambling.
Mhm.
But in some parts like Bitcoin, yes, huge risk for gaining money and huge risk for losing money. It is like gambling because there is no economic rules, economic noun rules in Bitcoins. Many people love it. Yes, it is some part of crowdfunding, but it is not investment. Many people work, many old people worked for many years in the stock market at all don't like to go into the some market like cryptocurrencies because there is no real money. Because of that, I think many governments like US will have a very rigid uh, federal laws against Bitcoins. Also, you know, many ATM now in California, we have many ATM machines for receiving your Bitcoin, your cash, Bitcash, and other parts like other cryptocurrencies, especially for Bitcoins. So it is not trading, it is not investment, it is not gambling. Now it is not gambling. Maybe after some years, it has some specific rules, specific predictable rules for analysis. You don't have any technical analysis like Payal has worked on the stock market. She knows what I am talking about. You have very good technical analysis in the stock market, even for buying, even for selling. But Bitcoin, there is no technical analysis. Go ahead.
So while I was working on crowdfunding, I found a word very interesting that is crowdsourcing.
Yeah.
So yeah, crowdfunding falls under the crowdsourcing umbrella, but not all crowdsourcing services are looking for donation. Like you can see this right here. For example, like microtasking, crowd testing. Crowd testing is like the crowd test, the software, for example, is not looking for donation or money or anything, just for the test. Or creative, the crowd participate in tasks of the creative sector. So those are some examples that belong to crowdsourcing, but it doesn't necessarily mean crowdfunding. And that's it. Thank you so much for listening. And I have the references is the last slide right there.
Thank you. Perfect presentation. Please just after finishing the class, send the PowerPoint for me. Also, Payal, you should send your PowerPoint, previous session PowerPoint for me. I want to have it. It was fantastic. Both of the presentations were fantastic. Any question about crowdfunding or not? Have you heard about it before this time or not? Luisa and Payal, have you heard about crowdfunding or not?
I mean, I have heard about this GoFundMe and all that. That's very normal now in US. But I never like, the word itself, when
Yeah.
when you commented, I was like, oh, what's that?
Yeah.
Until today, after her presentation, we get to know better, from where it comes and where it all started. So now everything makes sense.
And Luisa, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's very popular nowadays. And I also had an entrepreneurship class
Yeah.
last session, and so we talked about all the ways how to finance it if we want to start, and then crowdfunding is always an option to do so.
It is not so popular, which is because the management of crowdfunding is so hard. Many people, high amount of people with little investment.
Yeah, so I feel like also many like private people do it, like they have an issue going on or disease or something, and then they ask their friends or their like people to donate to them so they can cover their
Yeah,
medical fees
yeah.
or stuff like that.
The major part is that many people think that crowdfunding is something like that MLM, multiple level management, or multi-level financing, or pyramid financing, or networking. But crowdfunding is something else and completely different. Also philosophical, yes, it is something like network marketing, pyramid marketing, multi-level marketing. But basically, in the concept, it is something different. Because in those parts of financing, we are talking about investment. Many types of crowdfunding is not based on investment, based on donation. So they didn't have any expectation for receiving the money, as a very little donation. Because of that, it is crowdfunding. A large amount of people with a very, very little donation create a large investment in something else, that each of them, not lonely, not as a group, as an organization, couldn't do anything. Also, many charities in North America work on the policy of crowdfunding. Everybody donate very, very, very little money, but after that, we will have a great amount of money for charity and for other organizational. Read about crowdfunding. I think the next generation of investment will be crowdfunding in the next decade, in the next 10 years. You are so younger, and you are the first generation entering this after COVID market as a business woman, as a leaders. Please read about very carefully about the crowdfunding. I didn't find, I forgot the name of the foundation. It is not Wilson Foundation. I will find and send the video about that. There's a very old and great foundation in America based on the crowdfunding, very successful. I forgot the name of the foundation. I will find it and put the video from YouTube in your Moodle, and you can see it. It is very important. And in addition of that, I found 2021 report of Gallup, and I uploaded to the week 8. Please read that report. This is very important. 2021, Gallup is the most important research-based company all around the world. Gallup is the consultant for governors, for many governments, for many leaders. The major research, for example, in election in my country, some part of decision making, informal decision making in election is based on the Gallup research finding. Gallup is very, very authoritative company all around the world about research for governments, for anything. 2021 report was published, I think 2 days ago or 3 days ago. I downloaded the PDF and upload it in your Moodle course page. And also very short video, about 3 minutes video, that Gallup says about very, very short look at this report. As a manager, as a leader, as an MBA student, you should know, it is better for you to know the last topics and last reports about the economy, about the population. If you want to be an up-to-date manager and leader, you should have the habit of reading the last data, not the old data. For your job, 1 year data, after 1 year data is old. It is out of the order. You cannot use it, especially in fast growing market after COVID market. It is a very fast growing and fast changing market, not only growing. It is very changeable. you will see some major changes in the next 3 months, especially in California with the free mask from yesterday. It is free mask, all the businesses, all the banks, it is not mandatory. You will see some new activities in businesses. Many people don't want to go back to businesses as the physical presence. They want to have the remote working and continue remote working. Please read that report very carefully. It can help you in good understanding of the post-COVID era, especially in business era. Okay, thank you. And we can go for the other parts of our course. Yes, we will hear. As we said, we have two types of behavior: assertive behavior and emotional responsive behavior. Here you see that in terms of diagnostic assessment using the social style model, the first step to identify the styles of people involved. What is their style? It is, are they assertive or responsive? No. Everybody has two dimensions in this model. One dimension is assertiveness. Second part is responsiveness. So you cannot say, I am assertive or I am responsive. I am assertive and I am responsive. But subcategorization of these styles, yes, divided finally to 4 styles of social style. This requires direct observation of the party's behavior, which is done by looking for indicators along 2 broad dimensions of human behavior: assertiveness and responsiveness. Both dimensions have specific observable behaviors that give clear indicators of where a person fits on the particular scale. At first, assertiveness, what's the definition of assertiveness? Assertiveness is defined as the degree to which other people perceive a person as tending to ask or tell in interaction with others. I am more asker from other people, ask about everything, or not, I tell something about it. It is 2 different dimensions of assertiveness: tell assertiveness or ask assertiveness. Assertiveness is defined as the degree to which other people perceive a person, other people, not myself. For example, Payal says, no, Dr. Taghavi is ask assertiveness. During the teaching, several times he asked us that, what do you think about it? What do you think about that? He is ask assertive, not say just do it or just do it. It is tell assertiveness. It is something like ordering other people. So we have 2 different dimensions of assertiveness. Ask assertiveness, tend to ask other people, or tell other people, tell assertiveness. People who are more reserved, tentative, and who tend to keep their thought to themselves are assertive. Whereas those who are more forceful and direct in their interactions are tell assertive. The model recognizes that people in general try to get what they want, and these dimensions measure whether they do this with a more ask assertive or more tell assertive approach. So now we are talking about the first dimension of social style model. In social style model, we should find 2 parts of behavior, observable behavior. 1, the degree of assertiveness. 2, the degree of emotional responsiveness, or in short-term responsiveness. In assertiveness, we have 2 types: more ask other people or more tell other people. More direct talking to other people, this is tell assertiveness. Or no, more reserved, they don't want to show their thinking. Be careful. In assertiveness, we are not talking about the showing your emotions. Showing your emotions is the part of responsiveness. In assertiveness, we are talking about your observable behavior in showing your mind, in showing your thinking. It is called assertiveness. A person tend to ask or tell interaction with other people. You can see, you can observe the behavior. Is he or she asking more of the time, most of the times, or no, telling most of the time? Tell assertiveness Still assertive individuals tend to talk more, talk louder, speak at a faster pace, tend to move faster, learn for what, and use forceful gestures. Overall, they tend to demonstrate higher energy. Ask assertive people tend to speak less often, slower, and softer. They tend to move slower, lean back, and gesture with less emphasis, if they gesture at all. Phoebe, are you tell assertive or ask assertive? How do you think about yourself? Also, it is not about self-report. It is about other people observation. But I want to observe yourself. Phoebe, do you think other people say that you are tell assertive or ask assertive?
Probably people meet me the first time will say that I assertive, as assertive. But then if it's been a while, then they will say that I'll tell assertive.
At the first time, you are so conservative, not talking aloud with other people, not giving high energy of talking to others. At the first step, it shows.
Mm-hmm.
But after some time, they say, no, she can talk a lot and she have a good energy. Okay. So don't forget, it is about the perceived, not real. It is perceived, how other people perceive you. Because of that, we are talking about social style model, not self-style model. When you are talking social style, you are talking about the perception other people about you and you about other people. And based on this style, you have some decision making on how can you dispute the disagreement, how can you resolve the conflict. And Lisa, other people at the first step, how they think about you, they think that you are ask assertive or tell assertive. As you said that you are so quiet sometimes, I think they say you that you are ask assertive. How do you think about yourself and other people?
I'm pretty sure they would say ask assertive, and I think so too. Yeah, I don't use gestures. How do you say it? Gestures?
If I want to have a judgment about you based on this definition, I say you are ask assertive. Why? Tend to speak less often, slower, softer, move slower, lean back, and gesture with less emphasis if they gesture at all.
Yeah,
With
that's
this
correct.
definition, I think you are ask assertive.
I would agree.
Don't forget, it is not about your real self. It is about the other people like me, about you. My perception about Luisa, I see that in the class, Luisa is very smart, but doesn't talk aloud. And when she talks, very, very slow, very calm, very gentle. It is ask attention. Also, nothing of them is good or bad. It is only two types. But Payal is always tell assertive.
Yeah, that's what
Something
people.
says, yes, professor, you are wrong. Okay, it is. I have worked in this stock market. You don't know anything. And that, Kyle, how do you think about yourself? For example, your boyfriend, your father, your mother, your colleagues, or your classmate. How do you think about it? You are this definition. You are tell assertive or ask assertive.
My dad always tells me that you had to be a lawyer because that's what I wanted to always be. And he's like, it's still not late. You should go for it, because whenever my dad and I we are having we're talking about something, we will get into a discussion, and then he will always say that. So I'll definitely say I'm a Mattel assertive
Yeah,
person.
yeah.
But regarding Luisa, I remember the first time I took a class with her. I saw her, she was very calm, very nice, and I was like, oh, she's such a soft-spoken person. But she
Yeah.
was always on time on class. She was always on time with the assignments. She was one of the first person to post the learning engagements and all. So it shows that she's very determined, as she said about herself. But yeah, but she's very soft-spoken
Yeah.
and very calm.
I love this model because it helps you, especially in your intimate first stages. You have intimate relationships. For example, when you want to know about your new boyfriend, new girlfriend, new friends in the first stage, it shows you that sometimes we have misunderstanding and misjudgment about other people. We think that everybody is slow. He is always, for example, so cool. Okay, he can defend himself or herself, but not to be rude, not to be very aggressive. Who has said that if I am not rude, I am not active, I am passive? I cannot be rude, but very active. It is so politely. Because of that, please pay attention that misunderstanding of other about other people in the first step can misguide us to have some mistake in our decision making. The second part, as you see here in the comparison between two parts, ask assertive between the amount of talking, rate of speaking, voice volume, body movement, eye contact, posture, and forcefulness of gesture. You see, also you can find this in your book. But responsiveness. We talk about your thought, your thinking, your rationality in assertiveness. Now we are talking about your emotional responsiveness, your emotional expression. Responsiveness is identified as the degree to which other people perceive a person as tending to control or display their emotions when interacting. Note that we are talking about communication style. In the first stage, in the first step, we talk about it. That when we are talking about social style model, we are talking about communication style. Why? Because in many aspects of conflictual situations, it is not important about the content of conflict. Content is very simple. The model of interaction creates conflict. The model of interaction, the communication style is a conflictual style. The content of conflict is not so important, but the model of communication, the pattern of communication, the style of communication, the social style, the communication style is the source of conflict. Because of that, sometimes it is not important that what you are talking about, what you are discussing about with your partner, with your co-worker, with your classmate, in your general population, in your society. It is not important. It's not a matter of content. It is the matter of style, the matter of form, the matter of interaction. Because of that, it says responsiveness and other parts is about the style of interaction, not the style of, not the content of interaction. Individuals who are more controlled do not typically display much emotion when interacting. They tend to be concerned with getting things done in a no nonsense manner and tend to be more distant and formal. Those people with an emoting disposition display their emotions more readily to others and are characterized by their relatively casual manner. These individuals like to get involved with others on a personal basis. So we have here two parts of, we have here two parts of responsiveness: control responsive and emotive responsive. Based on the degree, based on the severity, you want to show your emotion. You want to control your emotion. You want to show your emotion. So emote responsive people are more animated physically and facially and use smooth flowing gestures. They show their own feelings and acknowledge other people's feelings more often. And control responsive people are less animated. They gesture less and they don't tend to acknowledge their own or other people's feelings. So we have two major categorization about both, not about this or that. It is not about either or neither nor. It is both. One part assertiveness, second part is responsiveness. Two types of assertiveness: ask assertive and tell assertive. Two types of responsiveness: emote responsive, and control responsiveness. Combination 2 for 2 is four types of social style. It is the comparison between the different aspects of responsiveness in control responsive, which is facial animation or facial expression, vocal animation and variance, physical animation, posture, subject of speech, and focus, and use of hands. See, emote responsiveness in American culture, emote responsiveness is a very usage of hand. When you are talking with a Native American, you should have a good distance from him or her. Why? Because they use their hand. It is not good, it is not bad. It is a culture. Use of hands in emote responsiveness, as you can see, in Asian people, in Middle Eastern people, they don't want other people to know about their emotion. They have some limitation for expressing their emotion. It is not good or bad. It is culture based. In America, they want to know everything about the emotion for everybody. So you see that use of hands in Asian people, in Middle Eastern people, we are not so friendly with using our hands. In Native American or white American, you see that they use a lot of hands in interaction with other people. Once the practitioner, so we have 4 types. Once the practitioner has assessed the parties in terms of assertiveness and responsiveness indicators, he or she set the 2 dimensions together and agreed. This produces 4 quadrants or styles of behaviors: analytical style, deriving style, expressive style, and amiable style. You can guess without looking at your book or looking at the PowerPoint, you can guess the combination. When I don't want to show my feelings and I want gathering information, I am ask assertive and control responsive. If you are ask assertive, you want to gathering information, not talking about information. And you don't want to show your emotions. You are analytical personality. You can guess. It is not important about your literacy or information. You can get using your mind to analyze these styles. Analytical personality, analytical style is for someone that want analyze gathering information, don't show his or her emotion, and analyzes the information. It is analytical style. If I want to gathering information but expressing my emotions, I am amiable, emote responsive. Amiable people or kind people or passionate people, they want to know anything about asking anything, but they want to show their emotions. If I want to talk to you directly, but I don't want to show my emotions, I'm a boss, I'm a leader. It is deriving style. You see that I want tell assertiveness and control responsiveness. And I want to talk to you and show my emotions. I'm expressive style. I want to use your analytical mind to learn the things, not only having memory. It is very, very simple. It is very, very simple. Let me check it with you. At first, Phoebe, don't look at your book or look at, it is not important about right answers or wrong answers. We are practicing with. Phoebe, someone has want to talk with other people, but doesn't like to show his or her emotions. Which is style? Want to talk directly with people, but don't want to show his or her emotions. What is style, do you think? Deriving a style, a minimal style, expressive style, and I forgot the number 1. Let me check the name of the style. Analytical style. How do you think? Someone who wants to speak with other people directly, but doesn't want to show his or her emotions. What is style? Analytical, deriving, expressing, amiable.
Amiable? I choose amiable style
Why?
because the other three style that you said is sound like people can guess, like can
I want to say you that Phoebe, do this, but you
mhm.
cannot find any emotion in my mind, in my face. What type of personality I have? Can you look at my finger? I want to say to you directly. So I am tell assertive,
Mhm.
but I don't want to show my feeling. It is not related to you what feeling I have. I want to control responsive. What type of personality I have? I can motivate other people. I can lead other people. I can manage other people. So the system is deriving the style,
Deriving.
deriving the style. I can drive you. I can motivate you, but not engage with you because I don't want to show my feelings. But when I want to gathering information and showing my feelings, gathering information about my environment, I am ask assertive, but I don't. I want to show my information, show my feeling. What type of personality, Luisa, I have?
I think that might be
I
the,
want to gathering information from other people and show my also information.
I think that might be the amicable.
Perfect. Perfect. I want to have a good relationship with other people, gathering information about them. But if I want to gathering, I want to talk other people and show my emotion. It is very, very easy. It is very, very easy. I want to show my emotion and talk with other people. I am expressive. I'm expressive. The last one is that I don't want to talk to other people. And I don't want to show I want to gather information and I don't want to show my feelings. What type of I have? I don't want. I want to gather information, but don't want to show my emotion. I am
Analytical
analytical,
character.
analytical character. People, for example, if you want to work in CIA, if you are a person in the hiring process of CIA, you should consider these people. They want to gather information, but don't show their emotion. It is good, for example, for something like a spy, like CIA, like HR manager even. HR manager is not eligible for showing his or her emotion because in hiring process, it destroyed the process. It is not eligible for a hiring manager to show his positive or maybe negative emotion. We are not talking only about the negative emotions. Sometimes it is about positive emotions. You are not eligible. It is not allowed for a hiring process manager to show his positive emotion about the candidates. So gathering information, but not showing the emotion. Gathering information says, I am ask assertive. Not showing my emotion, it says, I am control responsive. Control responsive. And ask assertive, it shows my analytical style. It is the communication style. It is very easy. Very, very easy. Honestly, not necessary to have in your memory because you can find it in your daily life from yourself. And one single person can have different style in different situations. For example, about yourself. If Phoebe has a very intimate friend and she is worrying about her friend, sometimes Phoebe wants to know about the details of her friend's problem. In this position, Phoebe is ask assertive. But because she thinks that her friend is not in a good position, she prefer not to show her problem, her feelings to her friend. In his position, Phoebe is control responsive. In this part, Phoebe has a good problem solver, is a good problem solver for her friend. Why? because Phoebe in this position is an analytical style, gathering information, not showing their emotion. Phoebe can solve her friend's problem in this position. But sometimes she think that such a good, lovely position we have with one of friend, first of all, boyfriend, with a husband, everybody in a lovely position. I want to know more about him and show his or him my emotions, and I want to talk with them in a amiable or expressive situation. You can find in yourself and near people near you every day these social style, because it is about social communication style. It is about communication style, not too hard to remember in your mind. We have a good practice just now in the class. Okay. Also, you see here, let me show you different parts. Analytical, driving, express is very, very simple. Showing the emotion and talking with other people, it is expressive. Tell and expressive. When you are expression, you are showing your expression, you are showing your emotion and showing your words, your mind. It is tell assertive and emote responsive. Ask assertive, I am so curious about my environment, I am ask assertive, but I show my especially good feeling and my passion. It is amiable. And no, I know all, I want to only know your data, but I don't want to show anything to you. I'm an analytical. And yes, I want to talk to you and say and order you what you should do. But it's not your info. It is not related to you that what emotions I am experiencing. I am a driving style person. Once the practitioner understands the predominant style of people involved and locates them in one of the quadrants, he or she can then begin assessing the problems or cause of the conflict. The social style model focuses on communication problems that can result from a clash of these styles. There is no good or bad style. There are match or mismatch style. We are talking about the clashes of styles. Any of them is not good or bad. In each situation, one of them is the best style. But when in one situation we have conflictual styles, not conflictual data, not conflictual content, we have conflictual communication styles. Is frequently caused by mismatch in the style. We have tell assertive and control emotion, control responsive. And other is amiable. Amiable wants to gathering, ask about the data and showing his or her emotions. Some of the key style differences may clash. The driving style may be strongly task-focused and quick to make decisions to move the project ahead, regardless of any feather that might get ruffled in the process. The amiable style, on the other hand, may balk at the decision process, wanting to get buy-in from the people affected first, because people with an amiable style tend to be focused on the relationships involved to much greater degree than those with a driving style. One of them is focusing on the result oriented. The other one is people oriented. You will see this orientation in DISC also. One of them is result orientation. One of them is process orientation. One of them is product orientation. And then the last one is people orientation or people focused. You see here that driving style is very, very outcome oriented, outcome focused. Only result orientation is more important. But in amiable people, their orientation, their focus is on the people, on the relationship. So the slow and the fast driving is very, very fast. They want to exact to the results. No problem. Who is damaging in this path? Only the result is important for dominant personality, for driving personality. Amiable people wants to know about other people, creating a good atmosphere for job. So consider, imagine this situation. One person go straight to the result without any consideration of other people. One person at first step consider other people, their feeling, their pacing, their speed, their knowledge. We have a clash of social styles. This may create and escalate a workplace conflict, regardless of the actual project decision or outcomes themselves. It is not important that what project you are working on. This is the clash of styles. The social style model is also based on the assumption that we have two assumptions here. Please pay attention. The social style model is also based on the assumption that personal styles are unconsciously learned. We have assumed that you're learning, you have never learned consciously by your intention. Personal style are unconscious, they are learned, but are unconsciously. Meaning that as we learn and grow, we get comfortable with our predominant style. And we do this without being able to choose it. It simply becomes a core part of how we conduct ourselves. It is also based on the assumption that our predominant style is substantially permanent. So we have two parts. One, our dominant style is very comfortable for us without any conscious, without any intentional supervision or monitoring. And second assumption is that they cannot change. Also, these are assumptions. It is not real. Because yes, you are comfort with your dominant style, but it doesn't mean that you cannot learn to be comfortable with other styles. And second one, it shows only that it is hard to change, not impossible to change. Change is not easy, yes, but change is possible. The only thing is that it is not easy. This means that our personality, our core behavior style, we consider social style something like our personality, our core social style, core interaction style is unlikely to change. In some ways, our style is like our native language. It is typically our most comfortable means of communication, even we learn other languages later in life. And oh, we don't have any time for a strategy direction. It is 7:54. Okay, let's go to the weekly quiz, and it is 7:54. And I am here also for the 10 minutes. Start it. And next week will be our last week. And we have the final quiz. You have 2 essay questions in your final quiz. And I think it is about, yes, 16 multiple choices and 2, yes, 16. I see that Phoebe is so surprised about the number of questions. 16, 1, 6. Multiple choices quiz and 2 essay quiz. Please read your book very, very carefully with details, especially about the essay question. The multiple question is not too hard. It is about your PowerPoints and the text. Especially at notes, look at the notes at the end of each chapter. Look at the descriptions for 2 quizzes, 16 multiple choice question, 10 points for each of them, and 20 points for each of your essay question. Total points is 200 out of 1,000 final grades. So 1/5, 20% of your final grades is based on your final quiz. So please study. Your book is very, very easy reading. I love it. Very, very easy reading. It is something like, especially it is something like Toolbox. In yes, in 2018, I taught this course with another book that we changed because it was a very old book. but it was very hard to understand. I choose it just this semester for you. It's a very, very applicable, very simple book. So I expect you to know line by line, word by word of this book. Also, if you want to have a good money making after this course, you should know that conflict resolution is a very, very money maker for teaching. So please read your book not only for grades, for having a good money after ending the class. Okay, let's go to the quizzes.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Bye, Lisa. Have a good night.
Thank you, Professor. Have a good night.
You too. Don't forget to send me the PowerPoint.
Yes, sir.
Thank
Thank you.
Have a good night.
I'm done, doctor. Thank you.
Welcome. Have a good night.
You too.